The rain-slick streets of Seville gleamed under the sodium lamps like veins of molten gold, but Elena Vargas couldn't see them. She was too busy screaming into the void left by her daughter's empty cribs. Ainsley! Elena! Sophia! Her voice cracked like thunder, raw and desperate, as she clawed at the nursery wallpaper, peeling it back in frantic strips that fluttered to the floor like dying butterflies. It was August 15, 2001, and in the sweltering heat of Andalusia, 3 lives had vanished without a whisper. Her triplets, born just 6 months earlier, stolen from the heart of her world. Elena collapsed against the wall, her body heaving with sobs that echoed through the modest apartment she'd shared with her partner Maria. Maria, with her steady hands and unyielding faith, had been the anchor in their whirlwind romance. A flamenco dancer who'd swept Elena off her feet at a midnight festival in Granada. They were 2 American expats chasing dreams in Spain. Elena, a painter from Brooklyn, drawn to the vibrant chaos of Iberian light. Maria, a Texas-raised firebrand who traded rodeos for rhythms that pulsed in her blood. Their love had blossomed defiantly in a world still whispering slurs behind cupped hands, but nothing prepared them for this gut-wrenching theft. The police came and went, muttering about gypsy caravans and family disputes, but Elena knew better. There were no grudges, no shadows from her past. Just a locked door she'd forgotten to double-bolt after tucking the babies in. Word spread like wildfire through the expatriate community. Gringos in Seville, they called them, with a mix of envy and disdain. Fundraisers popped up in tapas bars, posters plastered on olive trees. Missing triplets 6 months old. Reward. But leads dried up faster than the Guadalquivir in summer drought. Maria held Elena through the nights, whispering promises into her hair. But doubt crept in like fog off the Atlantic. "They'll come back, mi amor," Maria would say, her voice a fragile thread. Elena believed her because what else was there? She painted feverishly, canvases of fractured cribs and phantom cradles, selling them to tourists who cooed over the passion without grasping the pain. Years blurred into a haze. Maria's dancing faltered. The stage lights felt too harsh without the girls' imagined applause. They clung to routines. Morning walks along the Alcazar gardens, where jasmine bloomed defiant against the stone. Elena's art evolved into something sharper, exhibited in Madrid galleries under titles like Echoes of Absence. Critics called it hauntingly American. Raw emotion splashed in primaries, a Brooklyn grit clashing with Spanish subtlety. But privately, she drank too much Rioja, stared at ultrasound photos until her eyes burned. Maria suggested therapy, then adoption papers. Elena refused. "They're out there," she'd snap, the words a mantra etched in bone. By 2005, the strain fractured them. Maria packed one rainy dawn, her flamenco shoes echoing down the hall like accusations. "I can't bury us both alive, Elena." The door clicked shut, and Elena howled into the silence, the apartment swallowing her whole. She sold the place, moved to a cramped studio in Triana, the gypsy quarter where legends of lost children whispered from every alley. There, she taught art to street kids, pouring her grief into tiny hands that smeared colors like hope. But the triplets haunted her. Ainsley, the fighter who'd kicked first in the womb. Elena, the dreamer with a thumb perpetually in her mouth. Sophia, the peacemaker, quiet even in cries. She'd named them after wins. Fierce, whispering, soothing. Now they were ghosts. Seville's rhythms marched on. Feria de Abril with its polka-dot dresses. Semana Santa processions heavy with incense and sorrow. Elena aged into her 30s, then 40s, her auburn hair threading silver, green eyes sharpening like jade under pressure. She dated sporadically, a bookseller with kind hands, a violinist who played nocturnes at midnight, but love felt like trespassing on a grave. "You're still waiting," the bookseller said one night, tracing her knuckles. Elena nodded, tears salting the sheets. "Always." In 2015, a tip came, a blurry photo from a Barcelona orphanage, 3 girls with hazel eyes. Elena flew north, heart hammering like a war drum, only to find strangers with borrowed features. The disappointment carved deeper, a chasm no canvas could fill. She returned to Seville hollowed, volunteering at women's shelters, advocating for queer families in a Spain inching toward progress. Pride parades became her church, rainbow flags a fragile banner against the void. Maria wrote occasionally, postcards from Austin, where she'd remarried a quiet rancher. "I see them in sunsets," one read. Elena burned it, ashes scattering like unspoken regrets. By 2025, Elena was 48, a fixture in Triana's art scene, her studio a shrine to what-ifs. The world had changed, same-sex marriage legal since 2005, whispers turned to cheers. But her loss lingered, a private elegy. She avoided mirrors, the lines around her mouth a map of unhealed wounds. Mornings began with coffee black as regret, evenings with sketches of faces that might have been. The triplets would be 24 now, women with lives she could only imagine. Did they dance like Maria? Paint like her? Love fiercely against the odds? It was a Thursday in late November, the air crisp with the promise of winter, when fate ambushed her in the most ordinary of places. Farmacia Lopez, a dingy drugstore on Calle Batiste, wedged between a chuo stand and a pawn shop. Elena had ducked in for aspirin, another migraine courtesy of a restless night, and the bell above the door tinkled like a forgotten lullaby. Shelves loomed with antiseptics and sundries, the fluorescent buzz a monotonous hymn. She wandered the aisles, basket swinging idly, past candy displays and diaper packs that twisted the knife. Then a laugh, three voices in harmony, light and layered, slicing through the hum. Elena froze, her pulse a staccato in her throat. At the counter, chatting with the pharmacist, stood three women. Identical. Mid-20s. Soft brown curls framing faces that were hers. Hazel eyes sparkling, cheekbones high and proud. Lips curved in easy smiles. One gestured animatedly, her hands fluid like a dancer's. Another leaned on the counter, thumb absently at her mouth. The third mediated with a gentle nod, ever the bridge. Ainsley. Elena. Sophia. The basket slipped from Elena's fingers, oranges rolling across the linoleum like escaped dreams. The women turned, their laughter dying into stunned silence. Time folded, 24 years collapsing into this fluorescent instant, and Elena's world tilted on its axis. The drugstore air thickened, heavy with the scent of menthol and disbelief. Elena's knees buckled, but she caught herself on a shelf of cough syrups, bottles rattling like distant thunder. The triplets stared, their hazel eyes, mirrors of her own, widening in a cascade of recognition that neither side could name. Mama. The word slipped from Elena's lips, tentative as a prayer, her thumb hovering near her mouth like an old habit reborn. Ainsley, the bold one, stepped forward first, her flamenco grace evident in the sway of her hips, but her voice cracked. Who? Who are you? Elena's throat burned, words failing her like they had that night in 2001. She reached out, trembling fingers brushing Elena's sleeve. A simple cotton blouse worn soft from years of wear. My girls, she whispered, the sound breaking free at last. It's me. Elena. Your mother. The pharmacist, an elderly man with a mustache like a broom, cleared his throat awkwardly and vanished into the back, leaving the four women in a bubble of suspended breath. Sophia, the quiet anchor, moved last, her hand finding Ainsley's shoulder in silent solidarity. They were dressed alike yet distinct. Ainsley in faded jeans and a leather jacket, exuding the restless energy of someone who'd chased horizons. Elena in a flowing skirt, sketchpad peeking from her bag, her artist's soul evident in the charcoal smudges on her fingers. Sophia in practical slacks and a cardigan, a notebook tucked under her arm like a talisman. They were her fragments of Elena and Maria woven into flesh and bone. Tears carved paths down Elena's cheeks as she pulled them close, one by one, inhaling the faint jasmine of their skin. How? Dios mío, how? The questions tumbled out in a rush, Spanglish born of two worlds. The girls exchanged glances, a lifetime of shared secrets flashing in their eyes. We don't know where to start, Sophia murmured, her voice a soothing balm. Let's get out of here. Coffee? Somewhere quiet. They spilled onto the calle, the November chill nipping at their heels as they ducked into a nearby café, Café de las Flores, with its wrought iron tables and walls papered in faded bullfight posters. The owner, a stout woman named Rosa, recognized Elena and bustled over with 4 cortados, her eyes misting at the uncanny quartet. Familia, she said simply, patting Elena's hand before retreating. Seated in a corner booth, steam rising from cups like ghosts, the story unfurled in halting fragments. The triplets, adopted out to a childless couple in rural Extremadura after the abduction, had grown up in a stone farmhouse amid cork oaks and sheep trails. Their adoptive parents, Tomas and Isabel Ruiz, were kind but distant. A schoolteacher and a midwife, loving in their practical way but shadowed by their own infertility grief. They never hid it from us, Ainsley explained, stirring sugar into her coffee with fierce concentration. The vanishing. The American mother searching. It was like a fairy tale gone wrong. Locked in a tower waiting for rescue. Elena sketched idly on a napkin. A rough outline of the drugstore scene, Elena's face emerging from pencil strokes. We used to pretend you were a painter in Seville, coming for us on a white horse. Or a boat down the river. Her laugh was bittersweet, thumb now fully in her mouth, a tick Elena recognized from nursery videos. Sophia nodded, ever the narrator. Tomas died 5 years ago. Heart attack during harvest. Isabel. She got sick last year. Cancer. We came to Seville for her treatments at the hospital. She's stable now in a flat near here. Elena's heart clenched, joy warring with sorrow. And you? What have you become? The words were a bridge, fragile but forming. Ainsley lit up first. A dancer performing in underground tableaus. Her routine's a fusion of flamenco and hip-hop that drew crowds from Madrid. Like Mama Maria, she said softly, the name a spark in the dim cafe. Elena's breath hitched. You remember her? Sophia shook her head. Isabel told stories. Photos too. You two at Feria, dancing under lanterns. Elena's turn. An illustrator for children's books. Her work vibrant and whimsical, sold in shops along the Rambla. I paint families, she confessed, sliding the napkin sketch across the table. Elena's portrait stared back. Fierce, loving, unbroken. Tears blurred it. Sophia, the steady one, was a social worker, helping immigrant families navigate Spain's labyrinthine systems. I fight for kids like we were, she said, hazel eyes locking with Elena's. Lost ones. Hours melted away, cortados refilled, the cafe emptying around them. Elena shared her side. The endless searches, the art born of ache, Maria's departure like salt in the wound. I never stopped, she said, voice raw. Not for a day. The girls listened, hands intertwined across the table, a chain reforged. As dusk deepened, Ainsley proposed, stay with us tonight. Isabel would love to meet you. Elena hesitated, the weight of 24 years pressing down. But Elena's gentle squeeze decided it. We're not going anywhere, Mama. The flat was a cozy third-floor walk-up in Santa Cruz, overlooking orange trees heavy with fruit. Isabel Ruiz lay propped in bed, frail but sharp-eyed, her silver hair a halo against the pillows. At 62, she looked every inch the survivor, cheeks hollowed by chemo but spirit unbowed. The introduction was a quiet miracle. Elena kneeling by the bed, Isabel's hand in hers. You found them, Isabel whispered, tears glistening. After all this time. No jealousy, only grace. A mother's love extending like roots underground. That night, the triplets bunked Elena in the living room. A pallet of blankets scented with lavender. Sleep evaded her. Instead, she lay awake, listening to their soft breaths from the adjoining room. A symphony she'd mourned for decades. Dawn crept in, painting the walls gold, and Elena rose to sketch them sleeping. 3 forms tangled in trust, curls spilling like rivers. But joy's edges sharp, and cracks appeared by breakfast. Over tostadas and jamon, Ainsley asked about Maria. Is she? Elena's fork paused. We lost touch years ago. She went back to the States. A shadow crossed Sophia's face. Isabel said there was tension. After we were taken. Elena nodded, the old wound throbbing. Grief does that. It twists love into blame. Elena, ever sensitive, changed the subject to plans. A family dinner, perhaps a walk to the cathedral. The days blurred into a tentative rhythm. Elena canceled her classes, immersing in this reclaimed life. They wandered the barrio Santa Cruz, narrow alleys echoing with guitar strums and laughter. Ainsley dragged them to a tableau, where she danced under crimson lights, her feet stamping stories of fire and flight. Elena watched, tears streaming, seeing Maria in every whirl. Afterward, in a smoky bar, Elena confessed. We always felt incomplete, like pieces missing. Sophia added, DNA tests last year confirmed it. American roots. We searched online, your name popped up in art forums. Betrayal's seed planted subtly. One evening as rain pattered the balcony, Elena's phone buzzed. A text from an old contact. Heard rumors. Girls in Seville? Check Extremadura records. Something off about the Ruizes. Elena dismissed it, chalking it up to expat gossip. But doubt lingered, a whisper in the wind. Seville's winter sun slanted low, gilding the Giralda's spire as Elena and her daughter strolled the Plaza de España's bridges. It was their third day together. A mosaic of rediscovery, tile bridges arching like promises over the artificial lake. Ainsley skipped stones with boyish glee, her laughter pealing like bells. Elena captured the scene in quick watercolors, hues bleeding into paper. Sophia read aloud from a guidebook, her voice weaving history into their present. Elena trailed, basket of pan con tomate in hand, her heart swollen with a fullness she'd forgotten possible. "This is what I dreamed," she murmured to no one, the words dissolving in the breeze. Yet beneath the idle fissures deepened. Isabel's health wavered. Nights of fever, mornings of quiet resolve. The triplets doted, brewing herbal teas and adjusting pillows, their bond a testament to the life they'd built without Elena. Watching them, she felt both pride and a pang of exclusion, like a latecomer to her own story. "You've done so well," she told Isabel one afternoon, as the older woman napped. Isabel's eyes fluttered open, wise and weary. "They chose to love me, Elena, as they choose you now. But love isn't a ledger. It's a gift freely given." That evening, conflict ignited over dinner. A simple paella steaming on the table, saffron threads like veins of gold. Ainsley, ever the spark, broached the unspoken. "Mama Elena, what really happened that night?" The police report said. "Negligence." The word landed like a stone in still water. Elena's fork clattered. "Negligence? I bolted the door. I swear it." Sophia interjected softly. "Isabel said there were questions about your lifestyle." The air chilled. Elena's green eyes flashed. "Our love? Maria and I? That's what they blamed." Elena reached for her hand. "Not us. Never us." But the seed sprouted thorns. Later, alone on the balcony, Elena scrolled old emails from Maria, fragments of blame. "If you'd been more careful, less lost in your paints." She deleted them, but the poison seeped. The next day, a call from her art agent. A Madrid exhibit demanding her presence. 2 weeks, the agent urged. Elena wavered, glancing at the girls poring over old photos in the living room. "I can't leave. Not now." But Ainsley overheard, her dancer's intuition sharp. "Go. We've waited 24 years. 2 weeks is nothing." She went reluctantly, train rattling north through olive groves. Madrid's buzz, galleries humming with pretension, felt alien after Seville's embrace. Canvases shipped ahead screamed her pain. Vanishings, a triptych of empty cradles in crimson and void. Opening night was a triumph, critics lauding the visceral American rawness. But Elena's smiles were hollow. Text to the girls her lifeline. "Miss you. Isabel okay?" Replies came warm but clipped. "Fine. Dancing lessons with Ainsley tomorrow." Back in Seville after 10 days, earlier than planned, the flat felt off-kilter. Laughter echoed from the kitchen, but it hushed at her key in the lock. Isabel greeted her with a hug, frail arms surprisingly strong. "They've been planning a surprise." The surprise was a family portrait session, Elena's idea. The 4 of them, plus Isabel, posed in the Alcazar Gardens. The photographer, a wiry queer artist named Luca, captured them in golden hour. Elena's arm around Sophia, Ainsley's defiant grin, Elena's thumb shyly hidden. But that night, betrayal cracked open like an overripe figure. Elena, insomnia her old companion, rose for water and found Sophia's notebook open on the counter. Pages of meticulous notes, timelines of the abduction, interviews with old neighbors, a highlighted line. Ruiz family linked to underground adoption ring, 2000 to 2002. Elena's stomach plummeted. Further in, Isabel's letters to Tomas. "The girls are ours now. No going back." A photo clipped. Isabel, younger, holding the infants, her smile triumphant. Confrontation brewed at dawn, over café con leche. Elena slid the notebook across. "Explain." Sophia paled, hazel eyes pleading. "It's not what you..." But Ainsley cut in fierce. "We found it last month." Isabel. She knew the abductors. Midwives like her. They targeted queer families, sold babies to stable homes. Elena wept silently, thumb in mouth. She raised us with love, Mama. But she knew. Isabel, summoned from bed, faced them in the living room, wrapped in a shawl like armor. Her confession spilled slow, each word a stone. It was desperation. Tomas and I barren for years. When I heard of the ring, nurses skimming from hospitals, unwed mothers, I bought in. Paid the broker. Told myself it was mercy, giving them a real family. Elena's world splintered. Mercy? You stole my heart. Isabel's tears matched hers. I was wrong. God forgive me. But I loved them like my own. The triplets fractured. Loyalty torn between blood and nurture. Ainsley stormed out, feet pounding cobblestones to the river. Elena retreated to her sketches, lines jagged with rage. Sophia mediated, voice breaking. She was our mother too. Elena fled to her studio, paints flying in a storm. Betrayal in ultramarine, loss in Siena. Hours later, Maria's number burned in her phone. Found via a mutual friend. She dialed, voice shattering. They're here. But everything's broken. Maria arrived 2 days later. Flight from Austin a blur. At 50, she was sun-weathered, silver threading her dark hair. But her eyes, brown and steady, held the old fire. The flat became a pressure cooker. 2 mothers, 3 daughters, 1 grandmother, all orbiting Isabel's bedside. Maria's entrance was electric. Ainsley embracing her like a prodigal. You dance like this, mimicking a step. Laughter pierced the tension, but wounds festered. Climax crested on a stormy night. Thunder rumbling over the Sierra Morena. Isabel rallied enough for a family council, candles flickering against rain-lashed windows. I die soon, she stated flatly, chemo's toll evident in her pallor. No secrets now. Confessions cascaded. Elena admitted her painting obsessions blinded her to Maria's despair. Maria owned her flight as cowardice. The triplets revealed their pact, to forgive Isabel but seek truth. We want both worlds, Sophia declared. You and her. Lightning cracked, illuminating faces slick with tears. Elena reached for Maria's hand across the circle, their first touch in 20 years. I never stopped loving you, she whispered. Maria squeezed back. Me neither. Grief just buried it. Ainsley broke the circle, pulling them into a huddle. We're the wind. Fierce, dreaming, soothing. Together. But betrayal's aftershocks lingered. Isabel passed quietly 3 days later in sleep, her hand in Sophia's. The funeral was a quiet affair in the Triana cemetery. Flamenco guitars keening, orange blossoms strewn like apologies. Elena eulogized. She gave them life in her flawed way. We honor that. Mourners nodded, the triplets' grief a shared shroud. Winter deepened in Seville, the Guadalquivir swelling with December rains, mirroring the flood of emotions in the Vargas Ruiz household, or what remained of it. Isabel's absence carved a hollow in the flat, her shawl draped over a chair like a sentinel ghost. Elena and Maria stayed on, an uneasy truce evolving into something tender. Shared meals of gazpacho and whispers over vino tinto, rebuilding bridges with the care of mosaic artists. The triplets navigated their own tempests, Ainsley channeling fury into blistering performances, her tableau routines now laced with themes of fractured homes. Elena's illustrations darkened, pages of shadowed cradles sold to therapy centers. Sophia buried herself in case files, advocating fiercer for adoption reforms. One crisp morning as hoarfrost rhymed the balcony rails, Maria suggested a road trip. To Extremadura. See where they grew up. The idea hung fraught with ghosts. Ainsley balked. Why dig up graves? But Elena's quiet for healing swayed them. They piled into Maria's rented Fiat, a patchwork family hurtling west through cork forests and granite hills, the radio crooning old rancheras that tugged at Maria's Texan roots. The Ruiz farmhouse loomed at dusk, a sturdy adobe sentinel amid vineyards, shutters flung open like welcoming arms. Inside it smelled of rosemary and memory. Tomas's old pipe rack, Isabel's herb jars lining shelves. The triplets led the tour, voices thick. Sophia pointing out the loft where they'd whispered secrets. Ainsley the kitchen table scarred from puppet shows. Elena the attic studio where Isabel taught her to sew. Elena touched a faded quilt, fingers tracing stitches like braille. She made this. Elena nodded. For our first Christmas. Said it would hold us safe. Maria wandered the garden, where stone benches overlooked valleys misted in twilight. Elena joined her, shoulders brushing. "You left because of me," Elena said, not a question. Maria turned, brown eyes soft. "No, because I couldn't bear watching you shatter. Thought space would mend us." A pause, wind rustling olive leaves. "Coming back. It's like picking up a dance mid-step." Elena laughed, watery. "Clumsy, but ours." Their lips met then, gentle, tentative. A kiss tasting of salt and second chances, under a sky bruising purple. The farmhouse yielded treasures. A locked trunk in the cellar, key unearthed by Sophia's persistence. Inside, letters, Isabel's meticulous script chronicling the girls' milestones, interspersed with Elena's old posters, clipped from newspapers. "She followed you," Ainsley breathed, holding a yellowed article. "Lesbian artist's quest for stolen daughters." Deeper still. A confession note, undated. "Forgive me, Elena. I stole stars from your sky, but they lit mine." Tears fell, staining ink. Back in Seville for Christmas, reconciliation bloomed amid luminarias and midnight mass. The cathedral's bells tolled as they lit candles, 5 flames for 5 souls, flickering against Gothic stone. Ainsley performed at midnight masses after-party, a queer-inclusive affair in a hidden courtyard. Her dance a paean to mothers lost and found. Maria joined her on stage, steps sinking like old flames reigniting. Elena watching from the crowd, heart full. But conflict simmered anew. New Year's brought a letter, from a Madrid lawyer, representing the adoption ring's remnants. Settlement offer. Silence for compensation. The sum was staggering, enough for lifetimes. The triplets recoiled. "Blood money." Sophia spat. Elena burned it in the sink, flames devouring paper. "We don't need it. We have us." Spring unfurled in riots of azahar, orange blossoms perfuming the air like forgiveness. Elena's studio expanded. Maria renting the space next door, teaching dance to queer youth. The triplets integrated. Elena collaborating on Elena's canvases, their styles merging Brooklyn grit with Andalusian grace. Ainsley choreographing a piece called Triune Winds, premiering at the Teatro de la Maestranza. Sophia organizing a support group for abduction survivors, Elena guest speaking on resilience. Romance rekindled slowly, Elena and Maria's love a quiet fire. Evenings on the balcony, guitars strumming from below, they'd share stories. Maria's Austin years, Elena's solitary vigils. "I dated a cowboy once," Maria confessed, chuckling. "Too much twang, not enough tango." Elena leaned in. "Good thing you came back." Their nights deepened, bodies rediscovering rhythms long dormant. Tender, profound, a reclamation without rush. Yet betrayal's echo resounded in subtle ways. Ainsley, the firebrand, struggled most with Isabel's shadow. One humid June night, after a sold-out show, she confronted Elena in the studio. "You forgive her too easy. She stole us." Elena set down her brush, paint-smeared hands open. "Forgiveness isn't absolution, Mija. It's survival. Holding hate. It eats you hollow." Ainsley paced, curls wild. "But what if we could have had both? You, Maria, Isabel, all of us from the start." Elena pulled her close. "We have now. That's the miracle." Summer-scorched Seville, siestas lengthening shadows. The family escaped to the Costa de la Luz, beaches of white dunes and turquoise waves, a rented villa with bougainvillea walls. Their bonds solidified. Bonfires where stories spun like sparks, Maria teaching the girls Texas two-step, Elena sketching their silhouettes against the sea. Elena confided one dawn, toes in surf. "I dream of that night sometimes, crying in a car going to a new home. But now, it's not nightmare. It's bridge." Sophia nodded, ever wise. "We're the story that rewrites itself." Climax brewed in August, anniversary of the abduction. Elena proposed a ritual, returning to the old apartment, now a cafe. They gathered at dusk, the nursery walls reborn as mural space. Elena unveiled a new piece. 5 women entwined in windswept embrace, colors vibrant against the plaster. "For the missing years," she said. Tears flowed as they toasted with sangria, laughter mingling with sobs. But fate twisted sharp. A news alert buzzed. The adoption ring exposed, arrests in Barcelona. Among the names, a broker Isabel had named in her confession. Reporters swarmed, hounding the flat. Vargas triplets, justice at last? Flashbulbs pierce curtains, voices clamoring. Ainsley fielded calls, her dancers' poise cracking. Leave us be. Privacy shattered. The family retreated to the farmhouse, Extremadura's isolation a bomb. There in the attic, Elena uncovered Isabel's final gift. A box of letters, one for each. To Elena, you birthed warriors. Maria, dance on, Hermana. And the girls, my stars shine true. Reading aloud by lantern light. Voices overlapping, catharsis crested. She was flawed, Sophia said. But human. Elena wept, Maria's arm around her. As are we. Autumn returned to Seville like a prodigal. Leaves turning amber under a harvest moon. Mirroring the family's slow mending. The media frenzy ebbed. Headlines fading to footnotes. As the trial unfolded in Madrid, a grim parade of testimonies. Elena testified once, voice steady. They weren't commodities. They were my daughters. The triplets attended sporadically, Sophia's advocacy lending weight. But they shielded their hearts, focusing on futures. Maria's visa extended. She stayed, opening a dance academy in Triana. Winds of change, blending flamenco with contemporary queer expression. Elena curated an exhibit there. Reclaimed. Canvases of the farmhouse, the drugstore reunion, windswept portraits. Opening night drew a crowd. Expats, locals, survivors. Rainbow lights pulsing to Ainsley's demo performance. Elena's book illustrations launched alongside. A children's tale of three sisters finding their third shore. Sophia's group expanded, a beacon for fractured families. Daily life wove intimacy. Breakfasts of churros and chocolate, elbows brushing. Evenings in the plaza, guitars serenading stars. Elena and Maria's love deepened. Walks hand in hand along the river. No longer hiding from stares. We're the elders now, Maria teased one night, tracing Elena's laugh lines. Showing them how it's done. Elena kissed her temple. With grace. And grit. Conflicts lingered, human as breath. Ainsley dated a guitarist, fiery and fleeting. Arguments flared over curfews, Elena's worry clashing with independence. I lost you once, she'd snap. Ainsley would storm off, only to return with hugs and apologies. Elena battled imposter syndrome, her art feeling borrowed from Elena's shadow. Late-night talks in the studio mended it. Yours is the dream I never painted. Sophia, the rock, cracked under caseload weight. Maria's dances becoming her therapy. Thanksgiving, Maria's nod to Texas roots became tradition. Turkey with patatas bravas, gratitude circle under lantern light. For drugstore miracles, Ainsley toasted. For second mothers, Sophia added. Elena, eyes shining, raised her glass. For winds that carry us home. Winter solstice brought a pilgrimage to Granada, where Elena and Maria first danced. The Alhambra loomed, intricate as their history, courtyards echoing with water's whisper. The triplets marveled, Elena sketching arabesques, Ainsley swaying to phantom guitars. At the flamenco show, intimate underground, Maria pulled Elena to the floor, steps sinking in a pas de deux of redemption. The girls joined, a whirlwind of limbs and laughter, strangers cheering their joy. Betrayal's final ghost surfaced in spring. A letter from the ring's lead, imprisoned, seeking absolution. Isabel was coerced, it claimed. The family debated, burn it or respond. Sophia drafted a reply. We choose peace, not punishment. Sent, it closed the circle. By summer 2026, roots entrenched. The triplets launched ventures. Ainsley's troupe touring Europe. Elena's book a bestseller. Sophia's reforms influencing law. Elena and Maria married quietly in the Alcazar. Vows exchanged under orange trees. In absence and presence I choose you. The girls walked them down the aisle, Isabel's shawl as mantle. Years folded forward, but that drugstore moment etched eternal. A pivot from void to volume. Elena, graying gracefully, painted on. Families in full color, no shadows une chaste. Maria danced till dawn, feet light. The winds. Ainsley, Elena, Sophia blew free, carrying love's indomitable song. In the end it wasn't perfection but humanity. Flawed, fierce, forgiven. A lesbian mother's odyssey, reclaimed in the heart of Spain, proving that some vanishings end not in tragedy, but in the quiet thunder of homecoming.